one of the officers, the male officers, actually picks me up and throws me in his van. They call me like, you little spoiled, bitch. You're going down. My parents were also questioned heavily, about why they sent me to Africa. No woman from a business family, like, if you think about it, from an Indian business family, like you've seen, would come all the way down to Africa to set up these kind of things.
I'm in conversation with Vasundhara Oswal, the daughter of Swiss Indian billionaire Pankaj Oswal. She was arrested in Uganda on charges of kidnapping her father's former employee Mukesh Minaria with the intent to kill him. She was in Uganda to oversee operations of a new plant. In October 2024, she was detained in the East African country for 3 weeks, only to be released after Mukesh Minaria was found alive in Tanzania. Okay, Vasundhara, so first of all, it would be great if you can just take me through everything that happened in Uganda.
I want to say that it was a kidnap, not an arrest, because they had no arrest warrants when they came in, or charges. So what exactly happened is that I came back on September 30th to Uganda from London after spending about a week with family to start up the commissioning of our plant over there. Okay, this was supposed to be the largest ENA plant in East Africa. It is the largest, and it's currently functioning. It's a fully functioning unit. It's working at 100% capacity. We have over 400 people working there. So everything in terms of the business is good. It's functioning now. What happened is on 1st of October, when I was supposed to start up the plant, I instead get a call from my admin manager at about 5 a.m. in the morning saying that there's police outside our gate. So I go, so first I call up my parents, right? I'm like, Mom, Dad, there's like police outside. I don't know what they want or why they're here at this really odd time to be here. And they said, okay, listen, you just stay put, because they're in London. They're like 3 hours behind me. They're like, stay put. I'm going to make the security deal with it. So after some time of not hearing back, I go outside and there's like a van parked right outside my factory gate. Okay, they have, I think, 4 police officers in, and they're just standing there, okay, parked right outside. So I walk up to them. I'm like, why are you here? Why are you parked here? And they were very hostile. They answered back with, listen, we can be parked anywhere we want. We're the Ugandan police. What we're doing is none of your concern. And then I say, yeah, but you're parked right outside my factory. So it's disturbing, the movement of the workers, and everyone is wondering why you're parked here. And they were like, we don't have to tell you anything. Our bosses are coming soon. So I go back inside because even I don't want to, push at that point. They're acting very hostile to me. So I'm like, okay, let me just go back inside. Let me not talk to these people anymore. And call up my dad. I tell him what happened. And then he's like, listen, I told you not to go outside. You go back inside and stay in the house. So I walk back to the house after that, and I stay there. And I'm waiting to get feedback, from my parents as to what's going on. So like an hour or so passes. And I remember then I go out to our front porch. So, on site, you have like the site houses, right, where everyone lives, basically. So you have the house that we stay in, and then you have all of the workers' houses as well that house about 200 expats over there. So I go out to my front porch of my house, and I'm kind of pacing back and forth because I don't know what's going on. And then all of a sudden I see like a swarm of like people coming in to the plant. And I remember thinking in my mind, what the hell is going on? So I exit, and I see like there's like 10 of them that have arms, that have AK-47s, and there's 10 other policemen in civilian clothing. So I go outside and I ask them, listen, why are you here? They're like, well, we're here on an Interpol notice for a missing person. And I'm like, okay, but what do you want with this missing person and why? And then they're like, we're here to do a search for this person. So I was like, listen, do you have a search warrant? And they're like, no, we don't have any search warrant. So I said, then you can't search. If you don't have a search warrant and you're not following proper procedure, then you can't search. But they were refusing to get off the site at that point. So I say, listen, I'm going to call my lawyer. You're not allowed to go anywhere till I call my lawyer now. So I call my lawyer, and the lawyer comes. The lawyer is also explaining them, listen, you don't have a search warrant. How can you guys just be there? They keep going on about this Interpol notice from Switzerland. So anyways, I'm like, okay, if I let you search, will you guys leave? And then they're like, yeah, we'll leave once we finish the search. So I let them do the raid. They go all across the site. They wake up all of our employees that are sleeping because, we have 3 shifts. The people that are kind of sleeping in the night, they're awake in the night, they're sleeping in the day. So they go knocking on each of the doors. They open open all their rooms. They look under their beds. They look in the closet. They look in the bathroom. They look behind the mirror. Okay, and then they go to the roof of each building as well. They go on top of the roof to see if there's anyone there. They don't find anything. So this takes about like I think it was about 4 to 5 hours. They're doing this. They go into each and every single room. And then I'm like, okay, you didn't find anything, so you can leave now, right? They don't leave. So instead they say, listen, we need to come and have a meeting with our director. So I tell them that, listen, you've been raiding my site for the past 5 hours. I don't want to meet your director right now. It's already like lunchtime and I've not showered. I've not eaten. You've disturbed all of our workers. You've disturbed me. And they're like, no, you have to come. I'm like, no, I'm not coming. So as I'm kind of standing my ground and I'm telling them I'm not coming with you at all, they then say, listen, we can do this the hard way or the easy way. I was like, what is the hard way? They're like, we forcibly take you. So I'm standing there, I'm like, you have no charges for me. You don't have an arrest warrant for me, but you just want to pick me up and take me. And they're like, yeah, this is what we can do that because you're not listening to us. You're not coming with us. I'm like, why do I have to come with you if you're not following proper procedure? So anyways, as I'm walking back to my house, and then I'm leaving them. I'm like, okay, I'm not listening to any of this BS anymore because it seems like you're just bullshitting me. One of the male officers actually picks me up and throws me in his van at this point. And as I try to exit, there's this other like guy with this gun, AK-47, and I'm trying to exit from the other side, right? So then he points it at me and he's like, you're not going anywhere, you're going to stay put. So that's how I get taken to Interpol headquarters, basically, where instead of having a meeting, they tell me that I have to give a statement or I'm going to be withheld indefinitely after that. So I give the statement, even though we didn't have time to arrange a criminal lawyer, even though we didn't have time to look at anything properly, I still give the statement, about this missing person, and which I told them, the truth that, listen, I know this person. I know that he worked for my father. He's not an employee of Pro Industries. I am only the director of Pro Industries. I am not involved in any of the other companies, overseas. So I don't know about where he is anymore. I'm handling the commissioning of a unit. I just flew in yesterday and I feel like I've been ambushed by your people. So I give that statement. And I also give a statement saying that I believe that he's also stolen some jewelry. I gave the recovered jewelry to the CID officers, that we recovered from him while he was on site. They had a list of it, which I believe the team must have, shared with you. There's a whole page. It's worth $500,000 USD. So we recovered all of that, and I give all of that in my statement. And then I'm waiting outside to hear back, because I still can't leave, and it's 5 or 6 p.m. at this point. Then I'm told that I've become a suspect in the case, but I'm not told what I've become a suspect of. So they say that you're a suspect now, you're going to be detained. So they detain me, and I remember my parents were very frantic. They're never seen before. I had to literally smuggle in a phone, by bribing one of the officers up top to allow me to get a phone in for an hour in that cell to take those photos. They weren't allowing even my Swiss lawyer to come downstairs to see where I was staying because they knew it was horrendous.
Just wanted to know a few things about the chain of events that you described. So these cops that came and blocked your factory for the first time was it at 5 a.m. in the morning, you said?
Yeah, they first came at 5. Yes.
And were they in uniforms, and did they have any IDs on them or anything?
No, they didn't. No, they didn't tell me who they were. I remember asking them. They're like, we don't have to tell you anything. There was a lot of degrading stuff they said as well. Like I remember when I said to them, okay, like I finally said, okay, just raid and go away after this. They called me like, you little spoiled, bitch, you're going down. Sorry. I remember there was a lot of degrading things that were being thrown at me as well, which I'm not bringing across to you because it's a lot to say in one kind of sitting and to take in. So, they proceeded in a very hostile way Like they were just after putting me in from the start.
And did they have any women officers with them?
They had
At
two assistant women officers, but majority were men. There were about 18 men in total. Actually, the people of Uganda haven't seen those cells from them for themselves. Like the officials, they've never seen what goes down there. And I know this because a minister that we met recently, we showed him the picture, of that cell, and he was shocked. He was just like, "I'm so sorry. I had no idea that our country has this." So even the ministers over there haven't seen what those cells look like, and he was the one that drafted the constitution for 48 hours, also meaning that you can only legally detain someone for 48 hours in those cells. So as we were explaining to him that I was held illegally for 72 hours, in fact, he was just shocked, like he was appalled by it. After that, the next day, so the first night goes by, I don't have any food, water, nothing. I'm in the same clothes from day. So they just throw me inside. The next morning, my parents are, obviously frantically trying to get through to me, and they call me and they're like, "Listen, we're going to get you a police bond. You're going to be out of here. They can finish the investigation on a bond. I don't even know why they've thrown you inside." So I remember one of the criteria was that we have to pay 30,000 USD as an official fee for the bond. So we have the receipt also of that bond. And then we had to also give in my passport. So we do both things. Okay, we give the 30,000. I give my passport. These guys spend, half the day just taking my fingerprints. They take fingerprints of all of my fingers. They take it off my palm. They take it off, my this hand. They take it off my whole palm. So they're like making me do the full kind of thing, right? They take my pictures. So I finished with everything. And then I get told that there's no police bond after that. So I like at 6 p.m. again, all right. And this other lady officer comes to me. She said, "Okay, we're going." And I'm like, "What do you mean we're going? I'm supposed to have a police bond now." And she's like, "There's no police bond. You're going back to the cell." So I remember calling up my parents straight away and, telling them that, "Listen, these people are putting me back inside the cell. What the hell is going on?" They're like, "No, no, no, you're meant to get the police bond. You are meant to be out now. They're meant to do the investigation with you being in the police bond." They don't give me a police bond. So they throw me back in the cell. Now, this is the second day where they've not given me time to eat, change, or do anything. All right, so it's now 48 hours I have been detained for. And then the next morning, we get an unconditional release letter from the court, because I remember my parents throwing a lot of lawyers in to try to, stop the situation from happening. And even after that unconditional release order, they still don't let me go. And they hold me illegally till Friday. And then on Friday, for the first time, I'm hearing what my charges are. They tell me that I'm being charged with kidnap, with attempt to murder. They drive me all the way to a lower level magistrate court in Luero, where they charge me with a capital offense, which is not allowed. And then they throw me into Luero prison, where they keep me in for 2 days over the weekend. And then they shift me to Nakansongola prison, where they keep, obviously the higher level convicts that are kept for murder, human trafficking, rape. So they throw me in with them. And the reason that they did that is because it's illegal to keep me in Luero prison. So they have to shift me, and they kept me in basically for the weekend as a way of detaining me further, in a way. And I spent the next 2 weeks in Nakansongola prison. After, I think, 21st of October, I get bail. So they really didn't want to let me go. They find the guy on 10th October, and they still keep me inside the jail.
Why do you think that happened?
There was a lot of extortion that was happening. Like, obviously, you found this very wealthy individual that has wealthy parents. And there was a lot of extortion that was going on, even in terms of the lawyers taking a lot of money from us that were not justified as fees. Okay. And then there was a lot of extortion happening even to the courts, even to all of the CID officials that were involved in the case.
And in jail, did you have encounters with other prisoners as well?
Yeah, I did. And they were actually very, very nice to me. So I remember in Luera prison when I was first kept, when I was put, I was very distraught because I didn't have time to even tell my parents about what was going on. So they didn't give me time to speak to anyone. And when I was put there, I hadn't eaten again, hadn't showered still. There was this lady who, obviously these guys are very, very poor, right? They're from very poor backgrounds. So they can't afford much. But she was having like milk, powdered milk and hot water. So she saw me and she saw like I'm very young, obviously, and I don't belong here. So she saw it from my face and she was like, listen, she spoke in English. She said, I don't know what happened, but you need to survive. And she actually gave me some of her powdered milk and hot water. And she waited till I drank it. And she waited, she kept kind of forcing me to drink it in a way. So
Wasn't there any food in the jail, like in the sense of every prisoner getting some food at some point?
So in prison, what they do is they give you breakfast and lunch, but they don't give you dinner. So dinner, you have to either cook on your own or you kind of just starve inside of it if you don't have anything there.
So the people who cook on their own, they have materials maybe from the visitors that bring it to them, or how do they get
Yeah,
it?
no, the prison doesn't give you anything. So they have materials from the people that visit them. It's very sad because majority of these prisoners that are just dumped there, their families kind of abandon them and they're left with kind of no food. They're left with no soap, no uh, underwear, no bra, um, no kind of washing liquid. It's a very sad reality of what goes on inside. But they're actually nice people, and I think that they're just victims of a specific circumstance, which is poverty. Because there's so much poverty in that country that it forces people to do things that are not themselves. You know.
Did your experience in prison give you a different perspective on things?
Yeah, I used to view. I was very scared, specifically of the people when I was entering jail. Like I was like, oh God, now I'm gonna go where these convicted murderers are, and where these guys are. I'm gonna get eaten up. You know. And in history, I was the only white woman in that jail to have ever entered that jail, and they called me Muzungu, and they're like, "Oh, you're the only one that is ever like Indian that has ever ended up inside of this jail." They were all nice, and I think that it kind of taught me not to view people as so black and white, especially when they're in their circumstances and their lives have been so badly messed up. It just proves that it can happen to kind of any human if they go through the same things. The third day, I remember the third or fourth day before they put me in, one of the officers just locked me inside the room and said that you can't use you're not allowed to use the toilet, you're not allowed to speak to anyone, you're not allowed to see anyone, and they just left. So even though I asked her, like, I need to go to the toilet, she said, do it on the floor. We don't care anymore. So in the end, I feel like the case got very big in the media, specifically after they found Mukesh alive. The Indian press picked it up very widely. And that's how I actually got out, because that's how the truth came out to the upper level officials in the government, what these guys at the bottom were kind of doing. And then they were kind of like, what are you guys doing? Have you gone mad? Stop it. Get the girl out of jail. What are you doing now? So that's what happened, actually. And I feel like if that didn't happen, then no one would have told them the truth of what was going on. And I still would have been there, even till now. Because I'm telling you, they just didn't want me to get out. I was being sabotaged so much, even from the time that I was meant to get a bail application and get my signature on it. My lawyers would be bribed to not show up, to get my signature sometimes from the jail, or, they would not send the car to come pick me up to take me to court, or, in the bail application, they would miss out specific documents on purpose. Things that my parents would have reminded them before to put in, they still wouldn't put it in. So.
And you somebody with a lot of wealth and resources, and this still happened to you. So how do you look at this whole situation?
I feel like it can happen to anyone. And the fact that it happened to me, it just shows that no matter how much money you spend sometimes on a system, it doesn't help. Because we've spent, I think, over $1 million in bribes to these guys, and nothing helped. In fact, it had the opposite effect of keeping me in more and making my life more miserable. So it put my parents in a more desperate situation, and they would be forced to spend even more. The only thing that helped was bringing out the truth inside of it.
A million rupees or dollars, I'm sorry.
USD.
USD, okay.
Yeah, we're
And
talking USD, given to the highest level of officials that
yeah.
continue to do this.
And the bribes that you're saying must have been to facilitate your release from prison, from
Yes.
detention. So what kind of things did you have to spend on, if you could just
Even for the food, like for basic food, water, shower, um, basic things, they would take a lot of money for police bond, getting me released from the illegal detention, making my stay in prison more humane. So not letting me be like shoved with, let's say, 10 people to one bed, just basic things at that point.
how did you cope with it mentally, or like personally, how did you manage?
So I tried to do a lot of, good things for the other prisoners around me. I remember that there were, there was these children also that were there in the jail. And there were these other women that were there that were just abandoned by their family. They had no food, no water. So I used to organize these weekly deliveries with my sister. And I used to order, to make a big list of what was required, and then we would distribute it. So that was one of the ways. The other way was, at the end of the day, it's about having faith that if you've really not done anything wrong, and you're so sure that you've not done anything, one day you will get out of it. Like, you don't know when, but you know that one day you will get out.
And it's been 5 months since that happened. Did it take you any time to pull yourself together and be able to speak about this, or were you ready to address this as and when you came out?
No, it took me a while. So it took me 1 or 2 months. Um, you still live a PTSD in your mind. So when I was released straight away, I remember I used to have nightmares of just being picked up basically and kidnapped. Um, I, for 2 weeks, I was kind of just hiding. After that, I started getting my energy back. It's difficult when you've not been seeing a screen or your phone for like 3 weeks to even open it and to see the flood of messages that come through after it. So it took a while for me to get back into reality and to, sharpen up again and to be able to speak to people about it. And it took me a while also to break out of my mind that if I speak, this will happen or that will happen. Or this, let's say that, oh, I might anger someone in the government by saying these things. But I feel like there needs to be said because the system really was shit. And I don't think anyone deserves to go through it.
Did you seek help from the Indian government as well when you were in there?
I feel like they didn't want to step into the controversy it was back then because no one really knew what was happening and there was too much extortion going on. But as soon as things came to light, I feel like it automatically um, became a very pressurizing point, and that's how I was able to get out as well.
Do you know what that breakthrough moment was, like through which things came to light?
When they found him, I remember there was a lot of, there was a lot of kind of back and forth of, oh, how is he alive? How did this happen? So after that, the next court hearing I got, even though the lawyers tried to make me miss it, I by chance called up my sister.
You also said for a few days you were hiding. What did you mean by that?
We were scared of the CID coming up to pick me up again, because these guys were really after my blood. So we were being told that people are coming to kill me at a certain point. So even after I got bail, I was being told that, listen, now that you've got bail, these guys are very agitated. Um, and since they didn't get what they wanted, which was to keep me in, I was being told that they're going to come to kill me or they're going to come to pick me up and take me again and put another set of new charges on me. So what I meant by hiding is that my parents put me in, like, I didn't even know where I was. They basically took me from the court as soon as I got the bail signed. They made me change my car 3 times on the way to the destination they were taking me. And I was put in this kind of apartment complex where it was just me and some food that was there for 2 whole weeks. That's what I mean by hiding. And I didn't exit the house. I didn't leave my apartment. I was scared each time someone rang the doorbell. Like I was scared, oh my God, like who is this now? I used to check outside. I used to check like twice before I opened the door. I didn't exit at all, basically. I hired people from another country. Like I hired an army general from another country to look after me during that time.
Thank you for that insight.
No woman from a business family, like, if you think about it, from an Indian business family, like you've seen, would come all the way down to Africa to set up these kind of things. I spent over 6 months a year in this land, so it was like a second home for me.
And now what? Now what? Now,
Now they've made me terrified of being kidnapped if I go back, So we're working through it. Hopefully, they will improve their systems with this. We're in touch with a few people. But yeah, they have to improve the corruption in their system. Otherwise, what kind of influential person from wealthy background wants to come to a country to set up something and get extorted? There's no one, that will come. My parents were also questioned heavily, about why they sent me to Africa. And I feel like that's wrong because if I was a boy, then they wouldn't have been questioned. Like it would be permitted. And they're like, people are questioning, oh, why did you send, a girl down there? But how does it matter if I was a girl or a boy? What happened was wrong and it shouldn't have happened to anyone, at the end of the day.
and who are these people who are questioning your parents?
Just, you'll see it on a lot of the comments that were made also on many of the things, but people in general that they spoke to, like very senior level CEOs of companies during the time I was incarcerated, they would say, why did you send her down there in the first place? You shouldn't have sent her. She's a girl. So those kind of things, that it's disheartening that India still, is working a little bit on that mentality that, kisi ka rape ho gaya, but it's her fault. Why is she out there in the first place?